aujourd'hui, on va avoir deux speakers. On va commencer d'abord avec Jenna Zenk, qui est CTO chez Melonport, qui est une blockchain probablement la plus avancée, la plus intéressante sur l'asset management. Et ensuite, on parlera avec Gauthier Marin, qui est Product Engineer chez Cosmo. Donc je vais inviter Jenna à me rejoindre. Et elle va... Merci Jenna d'être venue. Et donc Jenna va vous parler de ce qu'elle fait, et ensuite on lui posera une ou deux questions et on vous donnera aussi l'occasion de discuter avec elle. Voilà, merci.
Bonsoir, du coup je vais faire ça en anglais s'il n'y a pas d'opposition majeure parce que je suis vraiment nulle pour expliquer tout ça en français. Donc on a convenu, ça va comme ça? Vous m'entendez? Tout le monde peut m'entendre? Non? Pas trop? Vous entendez pas? Là? Ah ouais. C'est pas bien, c'est mieux hein? Okay. Là c'est mieux? Ouais. Super. Ok, donc du coup je vais faire ça en anglais. Par contre je veux bien prendre des questions en français, il n'y a pas de problème. C'est juste que pour votre bonne compréhension, c'est mieux pour vous que je fasse ça en anglais. I work with Melonport. Melonport is a Swiss-based company that was co-founded by Mona Lisa and Reto Trinkler about 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago. So basically we were like one of the first token issuance, so-called ICO nows. We raised some money like a year and a half ago. And we take the commitment to build a protocol for asset management, a decentralized protocol for asset management within 2 years. So we have a deadline in February 2019 by which we have to deliver to the token holders, the people who participated into our token issuance, a fully decentralized protocol. So we're now 1 year and a half into this journey. It has been quite exciting, a lot of work, but yeah, I think we have quite interesting things to share. So maybe it's good to say that Melonport is the private company, and Melon is the software that we're building that is completely open source, free, public, etc. Like we don't really own this protocol; it's really owned by our community. So I'm gonna get into some details into like what Melon is. But before that, I would like to just take one step back to give a little bit of context and maybe one of the rationale behind what we're doing. So if we're all here today, it's because blockchain technology and crypto assets are passionating. They're really, really exciting, and I think everyone now realizes that it's not only about Bitcoin or about having this kind of like internet money. That's really cool. We do have now native internet money, and that's awesome, but that's like really just the tip of the iceberg. And if you have to remember just one thing from my intervention tonight, is that like this is just the tip of the iceberg. And basically it's more about a new stack of technologies, of open source protocols that kind of like allow for a deep transformation of our societies, economies, business model, etc. And so basically it's just like kind of like really it's going to change, and for me it's like super disruptive. It's going to change the way we kind of like interact with each other as humans, but also as businesses. It's going to change, I think, the way governments work today, and a lot of things. So basically this whole new stack of technologies is powered by crypto assets, or what we call tokens. And those tokens have been, really under the spotlight into like 2018, 2017. It really started to be seen as some, investable assets for people who want to get exposure to this kind of like new decentralized web, the so-called Web 3.0. And you now see, like maybe a year ago, we started seeing a lot of those people who want to create crypto funds, crypto hedge funds. So that's really cool. I think that's really the way forward for if you want to make like some good investments. But there is one problem, and the problem is that the current infrastructure for asset management and for investing does not accommodate at all for this kind of like new type of assets. The way you hold those assets, the custody, all of that is really different from, say stocks or whatever. It's really different. So the infrastructure does not cater properly to those assets. So one way to think about what we do at Melonport is that we're building kind of like this infrastructure for managing crypto assets. Okay, so Melon, our protocol, is a decentralized asset management software that runs on the Ethereum blockchain at the moment. It's completely open source and completely permissionless, which means two things. First thing is it allows anyone to set up a fund, to manage a fund, to have investors, etc., without the permission of anyone, not even us. So the same way, anyone is free to use Bitcoin, anyone is free to set up, say, a hedge fund on Melon. And the second thing that is quite important is that it's a protocol, so it's what we call layer 2-3. So it's not really an end-user application, but it's completely open for other people, other developers, other projects to build on top of that infrastructure. So we're really doing some infrastructure work for a new kind of like financial infrastructure. So technically, the way it's built, it is like a set of smart contracts written in Solidity. It's a collection of like 8 smart contracts. That's about it for now. And we coded into those smart contracts the way, the rules by which a fund works. So, calculation of the NAV, calculation of the management fees, performance fees, distribution of those fees to the fund manager, management of the investment and redemptions, etc. So all of that is kind of like coded into the smart contract. And that's kind of, so I worked in asset management before, and our CEO also worked many years in asset management. And in asset management, the biggest, the thickest part of the operations is really just like some cumbersome work of making the calculations, people double checking, and people double checking those who double checked. And it's really just about this. And what we do is that we put that into a smart contract, and we know that on the blockchain, everything is kind of like tamper-proof. So there is no need anymore to have all of those third parties and intermediaries coming in the middle, taking fees, extracting revenues and values from that kind of like valueless activities, I would say. So, the smart contracts do this. Now, the reality is that there are like a really wide array of potential use cases, and as of now, we don't have the pretension to say that we can, imagine already what all of the use cases are going to be. So we have to build this in a way that is modular and flexible. So the way it works is that there is a core. So the core is like the standardized part. No one would want to make the calculation of the performance of the fund differently. It should be standardized over all of the funds. So that's one example. So there is this core that everyone has to kind of like, if they want to use Melon, they have to use this core. And me as a fund manager, I come and I take the core and I say, okay, so this is the asset universe I want to invest in. These are the exchanges that I want to be able to trade on. And this is my risk management profile. So this is a few rules that I commit to abide by during my whole investment activity, right? So you can really build your fund, your investment fund, whatever, the way you want, and that's really exciting, I think. And it has a lot of this kind of design has a lot of upsides, both for the investors and for the actual fund manager, because we like to call this technology regulated and operated funds. So the regulated part is that all the rules that you predefined in the beginning at the creation of your fund, you have the guarantee, and like all of your investors have the guarantee that they will be enforced by the blockchain, and that's like really by design of running on chain. So that's from a regulation perspective is really cool. And technology regulated and operated fund. So the operated part is really good for the fund manager because it really cuts a lot of costs down for the fund manager. because a lot of the operations, I would say maybe 85% are now just performed by the smart contract. So there is a lot of things that you don't need to do anymore as a fund manager, and you can just really focus on what you like to do, being investing, searching for new investment opportunities, etc. So now this is really cool. You have a very novel way, very innovative way to create a crypto hedge fund, to manage a fund on chain. It's cool, but now you might be thinking, what's crypto funds? That's like a pretty niche industry. Like it's not really mainstream at this point. So what about traditional funds, like pension funds, or just traditional funds that you know of today? Is that interesting for them? So we have a fundamental belief, which is, I hope not shocking at this point, but we do think that all of the tokens that we know today, so commodities, bonds, stocks, everything, are going to be tokenized. You can fight me on this, we can debate, but I'm really convinced of that. Because why wouldn't they be? Like the blockchain has all of the properties that we're looking for when we want to represent value, transferable value. So we do think that all of those assets are going to be tokenized, and as soon as they are, and it might take 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, then the whole asset management industry globally can actually use Melon to create their funds. So you can create a long, short equity fund, whatever you like. That will be possible. And another really cool thing about this is that at this point, if you try to set up a fund, a hedge fund today, it will take you a couple of months to just set up, because it's a lot of very cumbersome administrative work, paperwork, all of that. So it takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming, energy consuming, but also it costs a lot of money. Depends on the size of the funds and the market where you're in, but really just to get started, it can go up to a few hundreds of thousands of dollars. And today, at this point, if you create a fund on Melon, it takes you literally a few seconds. Might take up to a minute or two if the Ethereum blockchain is slow. And it costs you about $45 that are, just Ethereum gas transaction fees. So it's not like fees that we take or anything like that. It's just like you have to pay gas back when you use Ethereum. So when you deploy a fund on Melon that runs on Ethereum, you have to pay this gas. So it's very obvious that the costs are really, really taken down. And I don't know if there are a lot of people knowledgeable into the asset management industry, but it's very well known that if you want to survive as a fund, you need a very high starting AUM. Like if you're trying to manage 5 million funds, there is very little chance that you will survive over 1 or 2 years. That's like really, really statistics that it's a little bit shocking, because you can have people very talented, but they don't have the network or the contacts or whatever, and they are kind of like excluded from the asset management today. So with Melon, we kind of like lower barriers to entry, and that is, I think, to me, the most exciting things, because we can start to see, really what talent is out there in terms of investing and identifying investment opportunities. So, yeah, so that's for Melon. I would like to add that we are building an asset management tool on-chain, but Melon is really part of a wider set of tools that other people are building on the Ethereum blockchain. And the way I see it is, I can see like a new open source financial infrastructure that is really being built as of now. You have people working on decentralized exchanges, you have people working on derivatives on chain, you have people working on stable coins, you have people working on decentralized dark pools. So all the pieces are kind of coming together, and we are kind of integrating all of these different projects. And I think in a few years from now, we'll see a really, really new and exciting financial system, which might be Finance 3.0. We'll see, but it's really exciting. So I'm just going to wrap up saying a little bit where we are right now. So when you build a decentralized protocol, there are 3 things that come into play. You have to build the actual product with the functionality. You have to build the governance system, because it's decentralized, so it's not, no one should have a central say into the future of the protocol, and you have to think about the token economics, is to align the value of your token with the value of your network. So where we are is that we completed the building of the product. We actually went live on the Ethereum mainnet a few months ago. We're going live again tomorrow. And we're now working from now on until February, which is kind of like the final deployment, working on the governance system, which it's very, very novel, very experimental, I would say, but also really exciting. So basically, we're working at designing a system in which our token holders will be able to make decisions on, the upgrades of the protocol, addition of new features, etc., etc. And this is, decentralized governance is a very new topic. So that's what we're working on, as well as the token economics, which we kind of like already unveiled lately. But I'll kind of keep some interesting stuff for you to read. And yeah, I'll start taking questions. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup Jenna. Est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui ont des questions? Alors moi j'en ai quelques-unes, mais s'il y en a qui ont, dans la salle qui en ont, des gens qui bossent dans des fonds, qui ont peur pour leur métier ou non? Personne? Oui, Amen.
J'aurais deux questions.
Oui.
Si ça me va bien. La première, c'est sur les standards de reporting que vous utilisez. Est-ce que vous utilisez, je ne sais pas si vous connaissez les GIPS, est-ce que vous utilisez les GIPS?
Oui. Alors on est à...
Il y avait une question de deux parties.
Ok, alors j'écoute la question entière peut-être et ensuite je réponds.
Après, la deuxième question, c'est est-ce qu'il faut attendre pour monter un fonds est-ce qu'on peut monter un fonds action ou obligataire ou il faut que ça soit tokenisé pour pouvoir utiliser votre solution? Et est-ce qu'il y a des fournisseurs d'ETF qui s'intéressent à votre solution? Parce que en fait, eux, c'est réduire les fees, c'est leur cœur de métier. Et donc, je pense qu'une solution comme celle-là peut les intéresser.
Yes. Ok. Donc pour la première question sur le reporting, on a une personne qui travaille dans notre équipe et qui fait un mémoire sur le reporting des fonds d'investissement. Et du coup, on travaille beaucoup avec PwC sur les standards de reporting dans les juridictions dans lesquelles on pense qu'il y a le plus de chances que ce software, enfin cette manière de manager un fonds, soit acceptée. Donc du coup, et en fait le reporting, et ça c'est quelque chose quand même d'assez important, que j'arrête pas de répéter à mes portes, mais en fait l'idée de reporting dans le monde de la blockchain, c'est pas la même que dans le monde traditionnel, parce que dans le monde traditionnel, on essaye vraiment de vérifier les faits et de dire ok, c'est ce qui s'est passé, tel trade, tel truc, c'est ce qui s'est passé. Et en fait sur la blockchain, c'est vraiment différent parce que tout s'est passé on-chain, et le reporting c'est juste une question d'extraire la donnée de la blockchain et de la mettre dans un format qui est lisible à l'humain. Mais voilà, c'est assez... le reporting, je pense que ça va changer, enfin, en tout cas pour notre part, ça va changer...
C'est surtout sur le calcul de la performance, parce qu'il y a le reporting légal standard qui est défini selon chaque pays. Et après, là, il y a des standards de calcul de performance qui sont différents. Ce n'est pas une exigence légale, je veux dire. Mais est-ce que votre solution a choisi voilà.
On en a choisi une. On est donc basé en Suisse, donc du coup, on est compliant with Swiss authorities. Mais vu que tout est assez modulaire et flexible, il est tout à fait possible de penser à changer le calcul de performance pour une autre juridiction si nécessaire. Ça, c'est possible. Deuxièmement, pour un fonds obligataire ou equity, peu importe, il faut que ce soit tokenisé. Mais comme j'ai dit, je pense que c'est qu'une question de temps. Donc, ouais, on pense que tout ça sera tokenisé et que ce ne sera pas du tout un problème. Et pour la dernière question, c'était... Les fournisseurs d'ETF. Oui, bah, on a beaucoup de demandes on a beaucoup de demandes de crypto funds, de funds traditionnels à qui on est obligé de dire que bah, pour l'instant c'est pas vraiment possible pour eux. Et on a beaucoup d'ETF, et ETF c'est peut-être un des use cases qui pourrait être possible en premier avec les crypto funds. Donc ouais, on en a beaucoup, surtout que manager un ETF, management, il n'y en a pas beaucoup en fait. Du coup c'est une solution qui est bien pour les ETF, très certainement.